Project Veritas, of course, doing the Lord's work as usual, have found the latest thing that is obviously terrible, that obviously shouldn't be happening. And so they sent an undercover investigator in, got the footage, which we will watch shortly, and it kind of reinforces Josh's point in his latest contemplations, which you can go and watch on lotus.com, that leftists are bad people, as science has proven, apparently. Dr. Ben Shapiro has done his analysis, and the science says immoral. Anyway, moving on. We're talking about Francis W. Parker School. Now, you've never heard of this, I'm sure, because why would you? It's a posh private school in Chicago. And if you scroll down a bit, you can see how they promote themselves. It's all very wholesome looking, obviously. I mean, what's not wholesome about that? The Francis W. Parker School educates students to think and act with empathy, courage, and clarity as responsible citizens and leaders in a diverse democratic society and global community. The word diverse.
The alarm bells ring.
Yeah, it's a dog whistle, isn't it? I'm hearing the dog whistle. So I thought I'd look at their philosophy. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll find inclusivity and dignity. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Now it's
brace thyself.
The highly exclusive public school is going to talk to me about inclusivity. We deliberately composed a diverse group of people committed to equity and inclusion throughout the school. We create learning experiences through the curriculum and pedagogy which resonates with the many different identities that our community comprises, making us effective citizens who honour the dignity of every human being. Oh, God, this is incredibly woke, isn't it? It's a bloody woke school. Go on to the next one. They've got a diversity, equity, inclusion statement. Oh,
of course, the rainbow heart.
Yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course, this is just an insanely left-wing woke school. But anyway, so I'll skip over that. Let's have a look at some of the upcoming events they've got going. Critical Conversations presents Dr. Daniel J. Siegel, Intraconnected, Self-Identity and Belonging. And so he's going to be talking about insight, empathy, and integration. Oh, good. Yeah, in Critical Conversations. Good to know. Let's have a look at their diversity job fair that's coming up for teachers, staff, and administrators of colour. The fair is for administrators and staff and teachers of colour.
No white people allowed, you'd assume.
That's the implication, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're, of course, just open racialists. You go to the next speech by Ijeoma Olulu on... So you want to talk about race?
No, I don't.
Yeah, no, I really don't. God, I really don't. Yeah, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of talking about race. This is the fifth annual Rita and Robbie Robinson Diversity, Equity, Inclusion and Belonging Conference. And their speaker has been billed as a, quote, writer, speaker and internet yeller. Brilliant. They're going to yell at me about race. Yeah. So how much are we paying to go to this school? Do you want to give me an estimate? What do you reckon?
I would assume, being charitable, it's about $70,000 a year.
40,000 actually.
Okay, right. Well,
so not
cheap
quite
off
as
the
much.
price.
Yeah, but still $40,000 a year to tell me how it's inclusive is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not very inclusive if we look at it through the lens of class. Now, it costs a fortune, basically. And so you can imagine the kind of school this is.
The thing about this, before I know you're moving on, is that these schools exist all over Britain.
Yeah, they do.
All over Britain. And I've spoken in a lot of these schools when I used to do my kind of porn awareness stuff. These schools are absolutely actually the worst offenders for this kind of woke indoctrination. That's what they are. They're woke indoctrination centres.
They don't even understand themselves as woke indoctrination centres either. They don't understand that there could be a more conservative or traditional morality that actually answers the questions that they're raising better than the way that they are answering them themselves.
And back to the smartphone conversation, this same conversation brings true. My boy's 13. He goes to a state school, but a trans teacher started. And suddenly there are two trans pupils in my boy's class.
Really?
Suddenly.
Just like that.
A boy and a girl who now identify as the opposite gender. And all the kids are compelled to write their pronouns on their exercise books. And my boy came home and said, "What do I do, Dad?" I said, "What do you think you should do?" He said, "Well, I don't really want to get involved in that." I said, "Well, don't then." I said, "But if I don't, they call me a transphobe." So the de facto position is join in or be isolated.
Stigmatized.
And that's what all of this is doing, the same as the smartphone stuff.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so the dean of this school was recently exposed by Project Veritas Joseph Bruno, the Dean of Students of Francis W. Park School, was out having a beer or a lunch with just some random person who was like, so what do you do? Let's watch the clip.
I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago, which happens to charge $40,000 per student.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How does this work? That's a really cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
So I've been the dean for 4 years. During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year, and I had like our LGBTQ plus health center come in. They were passing around butt plugs and dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Who is this?
This is an LGBTQ plus health center came in to talk to my high school students.
Nice.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're looking at them.
In the school?
In a classroom.
Wow.
Yeah. While I'm sitting there. Then we had a drag queen come in, pass out cookies and brownies and do photos.
It's so amazing. And everybody's cool with that, like the butt plugs and the dildos. Nobody complains.
No.
I mean, if the parents found out, would they?
No. It's queer sex. This is the drag queen that came in,
What's her name?
Alexis Bevels,
Alexis Bevel.
and just hung out in my classroom,
And was there?
or hung out in my office.
You have so much freedom, and so much wiggle room.
So much freedom, so much money
I mean, having
to
lube
do
and
stuff.
trustees are okay with that too? They don't know.
They would. It's like I wouldn't even run it by them. Like, why would I run it by them? They'd be like, "Oh my god, that's wonderful."
Like, how old were the kids with the classroom?
14, 18. They're like, "How does this butt plug work? How do we do how does this
We'll
work?"
stop it there, John. Just, I think we've got the...
So yeah, that's a.
These people should be jailed. They are outright pedophiles. They are child abusers. They are indoctrinating children via their own perversions. I might sound suddenly right wing, but I'm a parent.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't think that's a right-wing position. Surely any parent can be like, look, I'm not going to have some random guy in a, just some LGBTQ health center come in and start teaching my children about sex toys.
And there's a long and illustrious and dark heritage and history about the liberal left and pedophilia. Go back to the 1970s.
Yep.
PI, the Peter Marley
Yep.
Information Exchange, the Labour Party. Harriet Harman was it?
Yep.
Was one at the helm of that.
She was like the deputy head of it.
Yeah, and they were campaigning to have the age of consent, I think, lower to 13.
Yep.
That was was mainstream Labour Party policies.
All of the prominent French intellectuals in the 70s also signed a letter trying to get it reduced to 13. A bunch of them were apparently paedophiles themselves. This has happened in Germany as well. It is just one of those things about the left is that they feel it's acceptable to sexualize children.
Yeah, and it completely is not. And isn't it funny how the extreme position now is to protect children?
Yes.
It's absolutely out of control. And this is taking hold in Britain. All the bad ideas take hold in places like Brighton and Bristol.
Yeah.
This is come into a school near you. Like I said, it's at my boys' school. This gender politics is now taught 15 minutes every morning, Cole. They talk about LGBTQ stuff in a state school 15 minutes every morning. It's completely
Under a
out of hand.
conservative government.
Yeah, and it's completely out of control. The problem is fear. People are afraid to question them in case they get labelled with all these things like, you're a transphobe, you're a homophobe. No, the adults need to come back into the room, and this crap is going to be kicked out of our schools.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, once this became public, the school just deleted their Twitter account.
Yeah.
So,
You should delete the school.
If you're not ashamed of what you're doing, why'd you do this? What's the issue?
Yeah.
But then the school did issue a statement, and we'll let James O'Keefe tell us about it, in fact, because it's remarkable.
All right, emergency press conference, Project Veritas. We have a statement hot off the press from Dan Frank, principal of the Francis W. Parker School in Highland Park, Chicago. This is in reaction to the latest bombshell report. Hot off the press, let's see what it says. Will they fire the dean? Will they condemn what he said? No, they're taking an interesting approach here. Listen to this. Last week at the National Association of Independent Schools People of Color Conference, one of our employees was targeted by the group and misled to believe he was conversing with another conference attendee over a coffee. He was filmed without his knowledge or permission while describing one example of our inclusive, affirming, and comprehensive approach to sex education. This group, Project Veritas, has now edited the video with malicious intent. That's interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. And launched it publicly tonight. Please know this video contains descriptive language. If you choose to view it, we ask you not to share it because it will add to its viral power. So they're saying that we edited it with malicious intent. Literally his words. There are no edits. It's just him talking about dildos and butt plugs and spit and awful things about with 14-year-old girls getting this information. I don't know what, there's no edit. What are they talking about edit? Are they saying he didn't say these things? Then sue me. Sue me. By the way, we never lost a defamation lawsuit. That's because we don't edit anything improperly. Earlier this week, the same group, Veritas, attempted to ambush our employee at the school and was escorted off campus without incident. Well, we have that video coming tomorrow. Your characterization is maliciously edited, by the way, compared to what we actually have on video. It's always interesting how that works. While we have no reason to believe there is a threat to the physical security of work with the Alderman's office and police has implemented higher security measures. These are underage children.
All right, we'll stop that one there as well, John. So I just find this interesting. If you look there, we are sickened by this group's deceptive tactics. Their invasion during a People of Colour conference and their attack on the LGBT community.
Yeah, it's utterly grotesque how they use every possible, victimhood shield. Oh, we're the victims here. People of colour. No, it's not about people of colour. You are perverts.
Yes,
and you're putting this to children, and that's inexcusable. And in what world? Or it's like libs of TikTok.
Yeah,
they're just showing what people say.
Yeah, and
they're called the ones who are the hate. No, they're not doing the hate crime. You said it. You're hung by your own petard. This is on you. And if you're poisoning my child, then you are a problem. These schools should be shut, just like we saw with the Trojan Horse campaign in Birmingham, where they're radicalising kids over Islam during the jihad years of ISIS. These schools should be closed down with immediate effect.
It's terrible. If you can go to the next one, John, so we can see the full statement in a second. Can we get that, please? So they sent this email around to everyone, saying, look, we're writing to let you know that one of our employees, while at a conference last week, was targeted by a right-wing fringe group of individuals seeking to undermine and manipulate diversity, inclusion, equity and inclusion and belonging work in schools. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, they are not in favour of where the DIE agenda ends up going.
It's right-wing to not want your child to have a butt plug put in them.
Yeah, no, that's actually true.
Well, in that case, I'm a right-winger.
Yes.
We all are.
Yes.
Apart from the pedophiles.
Yes. Apart from, and let's be fair, how many children do you think that dean himself has? Probably single, childless, doesn't understand what the concern is. But yeah, as you can see, they're doubling down on this. They're completely in defense of the person who's like, 14-year-olds should know whether to use spit or to use lube. I mean, what's wrong with you?
We've seen this, with like Jimmy Savile, with the Catholic Church, with the Boy Scouts. All these institutions were infiltrated by predators, and I really do think schools are now becoming that battlefront. Oh, well. It just seems to attract these absolute wrong-uns, but not only that, they're being defended by the school. As the people without the extreme opinion. The wheel's gone insane. But
as we saw at the beginning, the school itself is woke, right? So it's an institutionally woke school. And so, of course, the people higher up in the institution, they don't see anything wrong with this. The LGBTQ Centre came in to teach 14-year-olds about butt plugs and sex toys. Well, of course they did, because we agree with that. We think that that's the right way to do it. And so, of course, it goes to the principal who's like, no, there's nothing wrong with that. You're wrong in trying to get us to stop doing that.
And it's just incredible that, like I say, it's now an extreme position to want to stop children being, abused like this.
Preserve their innocence.
Yeah.
Is it wrong? Well, apparently it is. So but the point is, this is not like the first time that the left has arrived at the position where they're like, yeah, but we need to get access to those children and to indoctrinate them into various sexual practices. It's like, right, why do you need that? You know, if that's what you need, then that's a you problem. Right? It's not what the children need.
It's because you probably talk about this a lot on the show, but wokery is now like the Jehovah's Witnesses.
No,
it just is.
Oh, it's like way worse than the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I'm a believer. You're a sinner. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make you like me, even if that means butt plugs and saliva.
Yeah. Well, that's how they recruit to their cause, isn't it? I mean, they can't do it by propagation. You know, they can't reproduce because, of course, how's the LGBT community going to have families and children? And so they need access to yours, and that's what they're using this now. Now, I'm sure there are lots of LGBT people who are like, this was wrong and it shouldn't be done. But of course, they don't get to have a voice.
No.
And when you get an account like Gays Against Groomers, who are like, no, this is for adults, this is not for children. Children do not need to know about this. Well, what happened under the pre-Elon Musk regime? They got banned.
Yeah, exactly. And back in my day on Loaded, we did a straight pride march, and it was a deliberate troll, and it still comes up on YouTube. It was a really, really fun day out. It was actually the idea of a gay guy that worked on the magazine, because it said I hate pride.
Yeah.
I don't want to be defined by my sexuality, so let's do straight pride. So we did. We dressed as kind of famous straight guys. I was a caveman. We had a Rod Stewart.
Right.
We had a snooker player. It was just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's totally out of control. And those dissenting voices, they either self-censor or they're cancelled themselves. That's what's happening.
Anyway, as much as this is annoying me, let's move on. Let's... God, the absolute state of the world, though, isn't it? It's like where literally you've got a bunch of groomers running schools.
Well, that's the word, and they're trying to ban the word grooming, but it is grooming.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you're dropping these seeds into young minds, I don't care if my children turn out gay. That's absolutely their choice. But I don't want them to be told that's the best thing to do. The children at my boys' school who come out as trans or come out as gay, they are treated like heroes. Yeah. Every child wants to be a hero.
Yeah, it's perverse incentives by perverse people in order to pervert your children.
It's incentivized to be LGBTQ in British, even in state schools, let alone these fee-paying nonsense, kind of finishing schools.
It's honestly, it's really disgraceful that we even have to have the conversation. Maybe we shouldn't be trying to overtly sexualize children. They don't need to know about lubrication. Okay, they shouldn't be having sex. They're 14.
Thanks for watching that segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters. I hope you're all having a very Merry Christmas. If you enjoyed that and want to find more, you can go to our website, lotuseaters.com, and subscribe for as little as £5 a month to become a premium member. But we do also have free content for those just wanting to dip their toe in first, including this recent video from Carl on reality against abstraction. If you're interested in finding more about what Carl is up to these days, you can follow him on Getter @CarlBenjamin. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.